Alright, welcome to part 2. Shrinking Stickers, the Arizona edition. And there's that Nova Boys record again. I'm going to keep showing it and I'm going to keep playing it. Nah, just kidding. Hey, you know, when you first look at that girl, you think she's looking at the camera, but actually she's looking into the window. So it's a little trick of the eye there. Okay, this first album is from Bill's Records. And this is an old 60s sticker. And it's a lot different from the Bill's Records stickers I remember from the 70s. And I only knew one Bill's Records, and that was in the mall. But this says Bill's Records Music Centers, as if they had more than one store in the 60s. So, yeah, I remember being a little kid and going through the mall and seeing Bill's Records. Here's another one from a chain store that we all know, Tower Records, and that's an old sticker from the 60s. I don't have one of the later 80s and 90s stickers. Eventually I'll probably get one. And this one is World Records. And this is the first chain store I ever went to that had imports. And they had albums and 45s. And I remember they had a small selection of used stuff. I remember selling my 8-track tapes to them when 8-tracks were starting to die out. They bought all my 8-tracks. So it was a very cool store. It lasted a few years after I started shopping there. And then it became Eli's. Now I don't know if the two were related. I think Eli's bought out World Records because all the stock of the store stayed the same. And here's another one, and this is a budget or special value $3.99 Tubes album. And this is another one from World Records. Now about a half a mile from World Records was Odyssey Records. And this is also sort of late 70s, 80s time frame when I started going to them. And I remember I bought Beep Bop Deluxe Drastic Plastic from Odyssey Records. And I have two of these inner sleeves from, I imagine they're from the 70s. Were pretty rare because these are the only ones I've ever seen. And I think this store went out in the early 80s, at least in my area anyway. Here's another chain store that I used to go to, and it's the Warehouse. I think they had stores all over the country, and the first warehouse I went to was in the mall, and then later on they had a regular individual store sort of in my area. And towards the later days before they went out of business, they started selling some used stuff as well, trying to keep afloat. This one is Charts. And Charts was a chain store, I'm pretty sure. And I went to them in the early 80s, and this might be an album that they sold used. I'm not absolutely sure, but it appears to me that it was. I seem to remember they had some used music there. So that's another kind of a rare sticker to find is Charts. Alright, this next one is one that I recently showed. Very rare sticker from Sight and Sound, and they were in the Phoenix area in the early 70s. So very, very rare sticker right there. This next one comes from the Mighty Independent Record Store Roads to Moscow. And they were around in the late 70s, early 80s. And this was the first store that I went to that actually, was a collectible store. And that's the first place that I found bootlegs. They were $7 a piece, new. And very cool store. Died out around 83, I think. So it had 3 stores. Very, very cool store. I miss it. Here's another one from Roads to Moscow. Here's a 1980 sticker for Zia Records, and they're still around. They're in their 40th year. Different owner. The founder passed away years ago, but they're still going, and it's a lot different now than it was in the 80s, but it's gotten really, kind of a big mega store type of thing now where they sell everything. But in the early days, it was a very modest, small store. And I remember going in there and they sold smoking paraphernalia, bongs, papers, pipes, that sort of thing. And here's another one. And towards more, the mid-80s, they started selling some albums for $3.99 instead of $2.99. The better titles, anyway. Okay, here's another independent, and this is Birds Records. This was over by ASU, and I did a video on this album, and it's called Believe It or Not, where I sold this album to this store around the 1980-79 time frame, and it came back to me just like a few years ago. I found it in the bins. So if you've not seen that video, check it out. It's called Believe It or Not. Here's another cool Phoenix independent store, Record Trader, and look at that great price sticker. They were over by the ASU Tempe area as well, and look at that. Wow. So very cool. Another one, this was another collectible store, Grassroot. And that's a later sticker from around 86 or 87. In the early days, Grassroot didn't have stickers like that. He just had regular generic stickers. So that's a rare sticker because those were not in use for very long. So very cool. Yeah, Grassroot Records were founded around 1980, lasted until about 1987. And the last one is, this is from Eastside Records in Tempe, also sort of near ASU. Very cool store. I remember, they would buy, like in the 90s was their heyday, and they didn't really deal in collectibles. Even if it was worth $20, they'd only sell it for $10. So, I got a lot of great deals in that place. And then later on, they started going more collectibles. And now they're out of business. But it was a cool store. Okay, I'm going to show a few old ads. And these are actually Xerox copies that I made years and years ago. I might have the originals in some newspaper somewhere. But this was from June 1982, Roads to Moscow. I'm thinking about having that image put on a t-shirt. That would be really cool. Here's another Roads to Moscow. This is from December of 1982. That's a pretty good one. Santa. This one is for the Tucson store, June of 1983. That one's not very good. And here's one from 1984 Zia Records. They had two stores at the time. That Indian school store that was the original location. I don't know how that stamp got on there. I don't know if I did that or I must have, but I don't remember doing it. Obsolete, do not replace. But I think I had that original ad in a paper. But it's kind of weird that's on there. I don't remember that at all. Okay, that's going to do it for the showing. And hope you enjoyed checking these things out from my area of the woods. Everybody take care. And until next time, later.